The following information is from a naturopathic point of view. All information and views are intended for educational and informational purposes and do not replace the advice or care from your healthcare team. This is Tea Time with Dr. Danni, conversations for navigating holistic medicine and wellness. With your host, Dr. Danni, we provide a fun and insightful look at health and wellness with clear and concise information, helping you to make educated and empowered decisions about your healthcare options and your health. Now, here's your host, Dr. Danielle McDuff.
Hello, my lovelies. Welcome back to all of our regular Tea Timers, and if this is your first time here, we're so glad to have you with us. This is season 1, and we are already on episode 10 here at Tea Time with Dr. Danni. I'm your host, Dr. Danni. So grab your favorite cup of brew and join me in the parlor as we continue our series on curating your health and wellness team in this final episode in the series with our guest, certified holistic health practitioner, Kari Pyatt. This episode, we're discussing how holistic health practitioners fit into collaborative care and what they provide, as well as a fledgling project that Kari's spearheading. The conversation that Kari and I had was packed full of so much great information that I decided to take some of the information and put it into a bonus episode that will be released next week for all of you. So stay tuned for that. In that episode, we're going to be getting in depth on what drove Kari to her passion project. In other news, the show now has a dedicated email address, so you can reach us at teatimewithdradanni@gmail.com. That's teatimewithdradanni@gmail.com. And you can find that info in the show notes as well.
For our first-time listeners, I am a board-certified naturopathic doctor, direct entry midwife, author, and now podcast host. I've been in natural medicine since 2011, and I began speaking and hosting live workshops on personal wellness and natural medicine that same year. This podcast is all about inspiring and educating our listeners to empower you to take the lead in your own health and wellness journey. Today's episode is sponsored by the upcoming Collaborative Care Retreat hosted by Dr. Harriet Lemberger-Shore and myself on August 17th from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. at 755 Boardman, Canfield Road, Suite C2, bottom floor. The classroom, in collaboration with Dr. Harriet Lemberger-Shore, is proud to present Introduction to Collaborative Medicine. This retreat coincides with the kickoff of our 100-day challenge and will introduce you to the different aspects of collaborative care with breakout sessions on lifestyle medicine and vision setting, naturopathic medicine and nutrition, emotional healing and rebalance, and the transcendence therapy, followed by activities and a cooking demo. A light breakfast will be provided, as well as lunch following the cooking demonstration. The 100-day challenge will kick off that day as well. During the challenge, Dr. Danni and Dr. Shore will coach you through jump-starting the next phase of your wellness journey with 30 days of cleansing, 30 days of building, 30 days of healing, and 10 days of maintenance with one-on-one support and group challenges packed full of tips and tools to support your success. The cost for this retreat is just $65. Registration is now open, but seating is limited. Registration closes on August 12th, so call 330-758-9567 or text COLLAB to 234-308-8289 or go to www.drdanninaturopath.com/collab retreat to reserve your spot today. You can save $50 when you register for the retreat and the challenge by June 28th. Did you know that we're pack animals? Like all other mammals that live in social groups, we need community to thrive. Loss or lack of that community can have devastating effects on us as humans, and especially women. On today's show, certified holistic health practitioner Kari Pyatt and I are going to continue the discussion of who you need on your health and wellness team by highlighting her discipline, and we're going to dive into the epiphany behind her fledgling women's empowerment group. Our guest, Kari Pyatt, has been a certified holistic health practitioner since 2019. She changed her career pathway after nearly 30 years as a nurse in Western medicine, and in the mid-2010s, she began taking local classes in natural medicine and subsequently enrolled in Trinity School of Natural Health to complete her certification. Kari, thanks so much for taking your time to come on the show and hang out with us here in the parlor today.
You're very welcome. I'm excited to be here.
Thank you. So you have this really interesting journey on the way to hanging your current shingle.
what exactly drew you to the field you're in now and holistic care in general?
So when I was small, had a grandma who was born in the late 1800s, before the whole medical industry as we know it came about, and she knew a lot about plants and herbs, and she taught me some of that when I was little, not so much in a medicinal way, but just to forage and eat. And she didn't know all the details of why something was good for you. She just knew that, in the spring you eat this, in the summer you eat this, and it is good for you, but not all the details. So I grew up kind of with that and used that throughout. And I went into nursing out of high school, and I wanted to take care of people. I wanted to help people. And in my journey with nursing, I became very frustrated because I saw that with the care they were getting, a lot of them were not getting better. They may have been a symptom that got better, but overall the health of the people were not getting better, and it was very frustrating. And then I sought out in my own life a natural healthcare practitioner, which was you.
It was. It's so crazy how you meet people. Go on.
Yeah.
You have such a great story.
I had been to many doctors, was having a lot of issues, and like many of us, get to the point that we're just told there's nothing wrong, and given a pat answer. And so I came to you. And you were able to help me through all that stuff. And then I started taking some of your workshops and getting to learn a little bit more about how to make tinctures and how to utilize herbs in an even more fulfilling way than what I learned from my grandma. And then I started taking some bigger classes with you in the brick and mortar school. And that got me started. And I never planned, honestly, to leave nursing. I just wanted the information so that it can empower me more, for my family, for my friends, and for different clients that I worked with in the nursing to be able to help them. And that is not what happened. I fell in love so much with it. And so, yeah, that's what I did.
Yeah. And so, as they say, the rest is history.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So you graduated in 2019. Wow, has it been that long already?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow, time flies. So, and we actually graduated ultimately from the same school.
Yes.
And both of us have similar stories in like how we got into it and what our journey looked like with the courses themselves. So I thought it would be interesting for the listeners if you and I talked about the curriculums that we had, because there is some overlap with holistic health practitioners and naturopathic doctors. And I thought, maybe we would just go over those respective programs and kind of talk a little bit about our experience, how that might be different from someone going in like cold. Like I don't have any credits or any background in this, and just share that experience. So do you want to start? I'll jump in after.
Oh, sure.
Okay.
So when I started at the school that we both graduated from, I already had some courses that carried over from when I was doing my nursing. So I was able to apply those and test out of some of the stuff that normally I would have had to take. So if someone is coming in without those, they would have to go through the steps of the process, which at the school where we went to, there were, I believe it was four different programs, wasn't it? So you'd have to start out, there was a health coach and a practitioner, and you worked your way up to the doctor of naturopathy, which is where you went. And I stopped at the certified holistic health practitioner. Yeah. For me, that was good. I was happy with that. And so my courses that I took would have been included in what you took as well, even though we were a few years apart. They're almost a decade apart with our graduating from there. But
yeah, because so you graduated in 2019. Mm-hmm. The official date on my certificate is 2014, but I finished everything like the very end of December in 2013. So like by the time we got through all the holidays and stuff, they're like, well, sorry, we didn't grade it until January. So, but yeah, so when I went there, I started out at another school. I started out at a school out in California that subsequently closed down, and I've talked about that in my story a couple of times, where I like had this huge freak out because, oh my god, I just wasted all this time. Right. And then I was like, well, maybe I should just find a school to transfer into. So when I started at that school, I actually had credits from my previous degree, which was a business degree. So most of my gen ed transferred, and I really only had to go into
the basics and take those. So, our anatomy and physiology, biology, all the basic like pre-med stuff,
right.
That we all need to know regardless of what field we get into, allopathy, naturopathy, homeopathy, you name it.
Right.
Like we all have to have those basics. So I had that there. And then in the classes at the school that we graduated from, when I was there, it started with like nutrition consultant, and then there was like a children's nutrition specialist. They were all really small certifications, and then it worked its way up to like
a broader, more encompassing.
So I did the master herbalist certification there as well. That really was part of, like, it's kind of like you get your associates, your bachelor's, your master's, your PhD, right? Like, so, but you have to do all of those to get to this. So I had to do all of those little certifications to get to the Doctor of Naturopathy. What were some of your favorite classes?
I loved, so we did bioenergetic mud packing. I loved that. I just found that so fascinating.
Oh, that wasn't there when I went.
Yeah, so that was really exciting. I really enjoyed learning about that. It's pretty fascinating if you look at it. It's just basically about tending to our bioenergetic field, because when we get an injury or a trauma to our body, not only is it in our physical body, but in the bioenergetic field around our body.
Yeah.
So I just thought that was fascinating. I loved that. I loved learning more about herbology. Now, I did not do the master herbologist program, but we did have, a semester for that in herbology, which I loved learning about. And I think one of my other things, more along the lines of just, for me, coming from a nursing perspective and just understanding more of how the body works, because in allopathic medicine we do tend to divide the body up into parts and pieces.
Yeah.
So if you come in with an eye problem, we're just looking at eyes.
Yeah.
We're just focusing on eyes. So just seeing how everything correlated to a whole body, a spirit, and a mind set, that it was not just, we're not looking just at eyes, we're looking at emotions that affect these eyes. We're looking at different types of spiritual beliefs about ourselves, about the universe, about whatever is going on, and just how interesting it was to have that all kind of brought into one and be able to put all the pieces together. It felt like missing pieces of a puzzle, were finally put together for me. So RBTI was one of those things that I really enjoyed, only because it appealed to that nursing sense of me, where I could see things on paper, non-negotiable. Here's some results of this. And then I was able to apply that to the body as a whole and say, hey, what is going on here? So for me, that was another, a good way to help me get out of the nursing mindset and more into the holistic mindset. And I think I've noticed working with my clients as well, there are some people that need to see this on paper result.
Yeah.
And so that has helped some of those make that transition as well, and then open them up to more things that we do as natural, health providers. So.
Yeah, that's a really good point, because working with anyone, especially if they're coming in as a first time and they're like kind of skeptical about, is this just woo-woo crap? Like, is this more new age junk, or like, is it really going to work, without seeing definitive evidence of their progress?
Right.
And sometimes that's just sitting down and saying, okay, let's talk about how things have changed.
Right.
Getting a baseline. Where was your energy that first interview? Where's your energy level? How are you sleeping? Let's rate those. And then having them rate them as we go along so that they can see it change. But I noticed, like, when I'm doing food sensitivity testing or testing for vitamin and mineral levels, that people come in and they're like, yeah, I'm feeling this, I'm feeling that. I don't really feel like, I'm getting a lot of progress. But then we look at that stuff, we retest those, and I'm like, well, look how much this has changed though. And they're like, oh, well, okay. Right. And then that kind of creates this encouragement to keep moving forward.
Right. And a lot of times, because people are used to allopathic and they're used to instant results for things. I take this medication, I instantly feel better, that symptom's gone, that's, it is a little harder sometimes for them to see the change, because as you're going through natural medicine, it's a small, gentle, steady change,
right,
as your body adapts. And so it does help to go back and say, okay, let's look at your baseline. Like, where were you rating your pain, 6 weeks ago? Where were you rating your energy levels? So you're right. And especially, I know, when I was seeing you, a lot of it was based on journaling, on our food journals and different things. And that really helped to be able to look back, because if you're just looking at tracking it day by day, sometimes you look back 4 weeks and say, oh my gosh, yeah, there has been this massive improvement that I didn't notice because it was so gradual.
Right. And we get so caught up in our day to day that we miss the little things that are happening. I had a client, just this one always jumps out to me. This poor woman had been suffering for 2 years with burning mouth syndrome, and she had trouble eating. She couldn't work. It was just awful. And I remember the first 6 months of working with her, every single visit, she would come in and say, am I ever going to be well? Am I ever going to be well? And I had her tracking her pain level on a calendar. And she's like, well, I have these red days. I'm like, okay, let's give those red days a number. So we started doing this, and I had her start bringing her calendar in, and we started going back and counting. Okay, so last month you had X number of red days, right? And your red days are at a 7 out of 10. And then the next month she came in and she's like, well, I only had 4. And, those days were a 5. And I'm like, all right, so this is major improvement. But for her, during those first 6 months, she was just still in pain.
Yeah.
And that was where her focus was. So taking that focus off of, I'm still in pain, and going, yeah, but you know what? When I was in pain 2 months ago, it was excruciating, and it was a 10 out of 10. And now my bad days are a 5.
Right.
Yeah. So it is so huge to get people to do that. And really get a picture of what's going on.
Yeah.
So were there any other classes that you really, really loved that really stood out for you? That's all right.
Okay. Well, I did love learning about, and I learned some from you about the muscle response testing, the kinesiology, and we just kind of went into a deeper explanation of that and how that works, and it's just amazing to me. It's amazing to me how the body works and how it wants to communicate with us. So I enjoyed that, and really enjoyed working with the Bach flowers as well for emotions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had about a semester of the Bach therapies, and they were interesting. Didn't really jump out at me, but the kinesio testing I thought was absolutely fascinating. And the one thing that really drove that home for me is that that metabolic feedback that we get from the body identifies stuff that isn't showing up in blood work, or isn't showing up in all of these subclinical conditions, particularly for women, in thyroid.
Yes.
How often that gets missed because you're still in normal numbers, but you feel like crap.
Right.
You feel like crap, and those numbers, those blood tests aren't taking into account where your normals are, and then where's the point where you get out of balance and you start to have symptoms. But when we do the kinesio testing, that fatigue shows right up.
Right.
And we're like, oh yeah, no, it's there. You're not crazy. So that was really important. Did you get iridology?
We did do some iridology, more of an intro too. So a very basic, I can look at an eye and maybe see a little bit, but we didn't do a deep dive in that. And it was very interesting to me, but I also found it, honestly, for me to be a little bit overwhelming, because there are so many tiny little nuances, and to look so closely and decipher this from that, and it was fascinating. But that was not one that I, like you with the Bach flowers, I wasn't as drawn to it for myself. I'm drawn to it for use, but for me and learning, it didn't rate high on my passion radar.
Yeah. So when I did the HHP part of the program, we did an introduction, and then once I got into the ND portion, then we had a couple of advanced ones. And I remember this class specifically because I didn't like it. No, I honestly thought it was just a bunch of crap. Oh. And I told my professor this. So when I went to do my dissertation, and we had to do a clinical trial, and they're like, you need 3 holistic diagnostic methods,
I was like, okay, well, I'm going to do kinesio testing and I'm going to do tongue and I'm going to do nail analysis. And so for me, tongue and nail analysis were two different things. And I went to submit this and they're like, no, that's one. They go together. And I'm like, oh crap, what am I going to do? So my professor is like, well, why don't you do iridology? And I literally told her, because it's complete BS. And she goes, why don't you test that theory? Right. God love Judy, because like she knew how to push people, right?
Yes, she did.
In like the best way. And I'm like, crap, I can't say anything about that. So I did it. And as I'm doing this, I did the 90-day trial with people. And as we're noticing the progress, I'm seeing the changes in their eyes. And I'm like, now I have to eat my words.
Yeah.
Right. And so then that really kind of solidified it for me that I had to put it in practice.
Yeah.
So the theory wasn't quite so far-fetched when I had to put it in practice.
Right.
And that's because of that. That is the class that stands out the most for me. I had a lot of, like, we did a lot of introduction to different modalities. So like I did, we had an intro to Ayurvedic and an intro to TCM. And, I did a lot of herbal stuff because I did the master herbology part. The thing that I think was most interesting for me was the kinesio testing, because of how much we're able to get out of that. Right. Like, so we can test for food sensitivities. We can test for vitamin and mineral levels. We can test organs to see how they're functioning. We can test emotional stuff. And so it's so incredible just because we're getting direct metabolic feedback from the body.
Right.
And so that's like real time interfacing with what's going on. That was the best part for me. All right. So the school that we graduated from has gone through so many changes since
major changes.
Yeah. Especially, I know since I graduated, and then of course, since you've left as well, there were changes between when I left and when you started.
Right.
I personally don't recommend them anymore.
I am in the same boat with you.
Yeah.
I liked the school. I loved when I went there. I felt like I got a really good education. But I feel like they've kind of gone a different path than they were on since I was there as a student.
Yeah.
And it's just not something that I personally could now say. I'm not saying it's a bad school.
Right.
But I personally can't look at that and say, yeah, I still have full faith in this, because there are some things that are just different.
Yeah. And I agree. Let's maybe share for the listeners some things to look for if they're interested in getting into the field and they're looking for a school. So what would be some things that you would say these would be things to look for, to have in the school, in the curriculum, in the administration, and what would be some things to look out for?
Okay. So for me, and I know for you, we have discussed this. One of the things is if the school is tied to a specific product or a specific piece of equipment or something like that, and really pushing that, I would be hesitant with that, because I don't feel that gives you as rounded of an education. It can get too much caught up in the politics, and you just will not get the same. So that's one of the things for me. The second is there a constant change and turnover of teacher, of administration, of staffing, or is it a consistent? And it doesn't even, you could be in business for a year, or you could have been in business for 20 years, but what is the feel of that? When you call, when you're talking, when you're doing your inquiries, are you getting to talk to the same person all the time? Is that person, I know Lauren, God bless her, was my person who was assigned to me when I started at Trinity, and I could go to her for anything. Like, she would contact me, I would contact her with any questions, if I had to change a schedule, if I had to do anything. But I know that some people who have taken classes after me did not have that same advantage anymore. It was just whoever you happened to get on the phone that day, kind of like a customer service call.
Yeah.
So I think that's a lot less personalized, but also just make sure that their common core beliefs are the same as yours.
That's a good one.
The school, because I did know that Trinity really leaned heavy into Christianity. They did. I did not have a problem with that, but I do know that there were people within my class that were very, not necessarily turned off, but it made that harder for them to accept what was being taught, because they brought that, a lot of people brought that into the classes. You know, and I think you just have to be cautious with that, because we receive less if we're not open to the whole message, right?
Right.
So maybe just to find something to make sure that aligns with what you believe as far as, you know, maybe spiritual, or just know that you'll be able to be open to that, so that it doesn't prevent you from learning the wholeness of what you could learn.
Yeah, those are great points. I'm not sure that I have a whole lot to add. I have to say, though, I wholeheartedly agree with you about the product. You know, I preach day in and day out about not being tied directly to specific products, and it's really important to have a patient-centered practice rather than a product-centered practice. And I think that carries over into education as well. We saw this in allopathic medicine, like when the entities that were heavily invested into pharmaceuticals took over the medical education, there was a huge shift in how that got taught. And we went from being a very holistic nation with more than 400 holistic schools in the US. And this was just like at the very end of the 1800s. To like 50 years later, there being, you know, next to none, and feeling like those schools really have to fight to get their footing and be able to provide that information and that education to people. I think for me, the one thing that would be really important in looking at a school is, are they teaching traditional naturopathy? Or are they teaching you information from the sales material of products?
Right.
And that's something that I see often with some of the classes now, and not just with the school that we went to, but with a lot of other schools where they're partnering up with these different companies, and really what it becomes is just a big training center for those companies.
Right.
And that's a disservice to people who are wanting to get into the field, because you're not getting all of the information. And I think many times you're not getting any of the correct information. You're getting the marketing information. You're getting what that company wants you to believe about how their product works and how to use that product, so that when you go into practice, you're dependent on that product. And that is a huge red flag for me. The other thing, kind of springboarding off of what you said about making sure that it fits with your core beliefs, you need to understand fully what your core beliefs are going into this, right?
Yeah.
So if the belief is that we as naturopaths are alternatives to Western medicine, and it's still a pill for every ill kind of mentality, you're not getting traditional naturopathy. You're getting nutraceutical training.
Right.
And that, to me, that is the same thing as being a pharmaceutical rep. It's just a different name on the chemical product.
Exactly.
I think looking at curriculum is really important. Are you getting good basics? Are you getting into like deep diving into anatomy and physiology, metabolic process? Are you deep diving into how those systems interconnect and interact? Right? Like you said earlier about, oh, well, you have an eye problem, so we're going to deal with the eye.
Yeah.
Well, okay, but what are the other things that affect the eye? Blood pressure?
Right.
Are you hydrated well? I've seen people who were completely dehydrated, at least subclinical level, right?
Yeah.
Like not like, I need to be in the hospital dehydrated, but, that low grade dehydration that most of America walks around as. And when we got them hydrated, their blood pressure went down and their eyesight improved. I remember specifically like 4 people in the course of 6 months that I was working with who were like, I don't have to use my cheaters anymore. And I was like, well, yeah, because we just increased the blood flow and your hydration is good. And so now your eyes that are mostly water are not all shrunken because it's all stuck on the inside. So that's really important. Like when you need to get into those deep core things and really understand what makes the body tick and what are the signs when it's out of balance and why does it get out of balance? Like what are the things that contribute to that lack of balance so that you can then reverse engineer how to support that.
Right.
Those would be my big takeaways for schools. All right. So I think we've like sufficiently dived down a couple of rabbit holes here, and we have to take a quick break. All right. We're going to take that break. But when we come back, Kari and I are going to talk about interdisciplinary collaboration and patient empowerment. So grab your favorite cup of brew and meet me back here in the parlor. We'll be right back. You're listening to Tea Time with Dr. Danni, conversations for navigating holistic medicine and wellness. Stay tuned. We'll be right back after the break. Today's episode is sponsored by the upcoming Collaborative Care Retreat hosted by Dr. Harriet Lemberger-Shore and myself on August 17th from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. at 755 Boardman, Canfield Road, Suite C2, bottom floor. The classroom, in collaboration with Dr. Harriet Lemberger-Shore, is proud to present Introduction to Collaborative Medicine. This retreat coincides with the kickoff of our 100-day challenge and will introduce you to the different aspects of collaborative care with breakout sessions on lifestyle medicine and vision setting, naturopathic medicine and nutrition, emotional healing and rebalance, and the transcendence therapy, followed by activities and a cooking demo. A light breakfast will be provided, as well as lunch following the cooking demonstration. The 100-day challenge will kick off that day as well. During the challenge, Dr. Danni and Dr. Shore will coach you through jump-starting the next phase of your wellness journey with 30 days of cleansing, 30 days of building, 30 days of healing, and 10 days of maintenance with one-on-one support and group challenges packed full of tips and tools to support your success. The cost for this retreat is just $65. Registration is now open, but seating is limited. Registration closes on August 12th, so call 330-758-9567 or text COLLAB to 234-308-8289 or go to www.drdanninaturopath.com/collab retreat to reserve your spot today. You can save $50 when you register for the retreat and the challenge by June 28th. Do you want to get out of the rut of what feels like a never-ending cycle of poor health and mental and emotional drain? Check out the Metamorphosis book series by Dr. Danielle McDuff, board-certified naturopathic doctor. This 3-part book series will take you through a transformational process to complete healing, helping you understand why you feel stuck in those cycles, help you develop habits and practices that support healing and growth, and to discover and maintain the tools needed to continually live in this new best version of you. The series walks you through discovery and healing on a mind, body, spirit level, guides you into growth and abundance, and finally helps you discover purpose and rebuild resilience. Book 1, Whole Again, dives into whole healing by focusing on discovery and discussing tools for achieving that healing. Whole Again is currently available at www.drdanninaturopath.com/shop. Are you a woman between the ages of 28 and 45 and have trouble concentrating, experience excessive fatigue, brain fog, have difficulty connecting with the people in your life, or just feel overwhelmed all the time? Dr. Danni can help. As a board-certified naturopathic doctor, her client-centered approach will help you discover the underlying contributors to your symptoms, learn how to better support your body, and provide you with the resources to help speed your healing. Schedule an assessment or ask for the free 10-minute Can You Help Me consult to find out how Dr. Danni can help you. Call 330-758-9567 to schedule today.
You're listening to Tea Time with Dr. Danni. This show was previously recorded. You can reach the show at teatimewithdrdanni@gmail.com. That's teatime with DRDANNI @gmail.com, or find the link in the show notes. Now back to Tea Time. Here's Dr. Danni. Welcome back to all my Tea Timers. Before the break, certified holistic health practitioner Kari Pyatt shared how she got into the field, and we talked about the overlap and differences in education for HHPs and traditional naturopaths. We also talked about what you might need to be aware of if you're looking for an educational organization as part of your journey. So, Kari, when you and I first started talking about you coming on the show, we were kind of focused on this idea that you had shared with me. And ultimately, it kind of made sense to bring you on as part of this series on curating your health and wellness team. And we're going to get to that really cool idea later in the show. But first, I wanted to just chat with you a little bit about interdisciplinary collaboration. So I wanted just to find out, like, what exactly does that mean to you? And then how do you apply that in your practice?
So for me, I find that I don't think there's one standalone person that can do everything for you. Different people have different specialties, have different, and I've heard you when you were talking with the doctor, and she was saying about how, you know, she can maybe order tests that somebody else can't order and stuff like that. So I think it's important to have the open communication, you know, with everyone. And obviously it is important to have a primary care provider for most people, especially if you are in, you know, on any kind of medications or have any long-term things that you may need to access something that you can't. But for me, I have been very, very blessed to have some of my clients find a couple of doctors who are very open to just with some clients who have some doctors who are very open to working with the recommendations I make for my clients, and there's a lot of feedback both ways. They're very open to it, which is fabulous because, as you know, that is very rare.
Yeah.
And I can tell you from working in the medical field for as long as I did, that is extremely rare. So that has been great. I have some chiropractors I work with, massage therapist, an iridologist. Yeah. Excuse me. She's going to correct me. An iridologist.
Iridologist. Yes, it's the iris. It's not
yes,
the ear.
It is. Yeah. An iridologist that we both know.
Yes.
And she's fabulous, well beyond anything that I learned about iridology. So I utilize that. And there are many other practitioners that I have met that are willing to kind of create a team, like you're talking about, creating a team. And if the client is willing, we share information between us that helps us to get a fuller idea of what this person needs. Because I'm just going to use the massage therapist as an example. So, and she recommends people to me. I recommend people to her. It's a two-way street. It's not just me recommending people out. I'm finding that those same people recommend. I mean, you and I have recommended back and forth as well. And it's just a great way to make sure that each individual person is getting all their needs met, and we're seeing a more fulfilling or full picture of what's going on. Because maybe the massage therapist is going to come back and say, oh my gosh, this fascia is so sticky, and there's a lot of areas in this right hip, and then that gives me a fuller vision of, oh, okay, so this is something, because as we know, emotions are stuck in the body. The fascia can do with protectiveness, us trying to protect ourselves, but also with hydration, but also with movement. And there's not one aspect to anything within our body. There are so many different ways to look at it. So for me, that has been just a great way to see a fuller picture and to make sure that client is getting everything they need in order to do their best and thrive.
Yeah, awesome. I agree so much with that. And I think that collaboration is it's super hard. That's been my experience as well, trying to get other practitioners to collaborate, especially even within our own field. You know, it's not just the allopaths that are really jerky about it. You know, there seems to be a lot of competition even within our own field, and it's hard to get people to get away from this idea of, well, you're going to take business from me, rather than, hey, so you focus on this thing that I don't focus on. What's your perspective on this? What are you seeing? And us really genuinely collaborating. So
and I think what happens a lot too, because a lot of times people do not seek out natural medicine until they've exhausted all other efforts.
Right. We end up being the last resort.
Right. So a lot of times I think there's that fear again that maybe, they're going to like what this person does better, or they're going to see a result they didn't see with me. And then, and I don't think it does not have to be that way. You look around and you think, even in the very small area where I'm from, little tiny town where I'm from, we have multiple doctors. None of them are struggling to get patients, right?
Right.
So if we, as all of us collectively as naturopathic practitioners, looked and said, there's enough, and the people who are meant to come to me will come to me. The people who are meant to be with you will be with you. The people who are meant to be with the guy down the street, that's who they'll end up with. And we have to not, I think we internalize it a lot too, sometimes about ourselves, that if this client walks away from us and goes to somebody else, we feel like, what did we do wrong? What did we fall short? What do we need to change? And sometimes it's just not, that person isn't meant to be with us.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I talked about that in a previous episode where like sometimes it's just you're not a good fit. Right. Sometimes it's a personality clash. Well, let me tell you, that was a hard lesson for me to learn. Yeah. Super hard. So what do you think that we could do particularly as holistic providers to collaborate better?
Well, I think I would love to see, this is just an example. So my sister, she does lifeline technique, and it's very, very interesting, but it deals a lot with subconscious emotions. So not your memories that you have, but the subconscious ones that are tucked away that you don't even know that are there, that cause us to react to triggers. But what she has been doing is she's been going to the holistic health fairs, and the other practitioners of different things, maybe Reiki, maybe readings or whatever, they have formed a group where they all kind of get together. They take care of each other, but at the same time they're learning more about what the other person does, and they're referring back and forth to each other with that. And I think that has been fabulous. And I think that so there's a group, as you know, because I believe you presented before a group of chiropractors that meet Columbiana County, Mahoning County, within the area. And I love that they're open to having some naturopathic or more natural different ways come in and talk to them and talk about what they do. I think that's a good start, just having them be open to it. And I know, historically chiropractors were part of the naturopathic community. And then, as we know, had to break off and kind of form their own because the naturopathic community was under such targeted violence and basically trying to get them out of the medical field. So I do think we still kind of have a close relationship, and they understand more of what we do as natural health practitioners than perhaps an allopathic doctor would. But I love that, and I think that's a great place to start. But something like that, just having people be open to understanding, like if you're doing a bioenergetic scan over here, I want to be able to say, hey, my client is not as comfortable maybe with the muscle testing because some people are not, or some people question whether, is that really accurate, or did I feel that? And maybe that person says, I would like these results on paper. There you go. I can refer them to somebody who does a bioenergetic scan, or we have the biofeedback, the naturopathic type, as opposed to the allopathic type, which they have their own type now. Many things have been taken from the naturopathic field into the allopathic field, like dry needling, acupuncture.
Right.
But they don't have the full understanding of all of it. But I think that would be a nice way if we could be a little just bit more open. And like you said, each of us, even other CHHPs that graduated with me, how they do their practice is nothing at all like I do mine. We each have our own strengths. We each have our own focuses. We each have our own processes that we go through. So there doesn't have to be it's mine or it's yours.
Right.
And to build that community and be there to support each other. And I would love to say, hey, I'm going on vacation. Can somebody step in and take care of any issues that arise with my clients while I'm gone? Yeah. I think that would be awesome. And to get information from other people. As I said, I know I've sent people to you before because I'm like, what's going on with you? I'm hitting a roadblock. So I'm going to send you here and see if you can make some progress because I've run out of my resources to help you. And I think that there are people that I know that have seen you and said, this is what, and that was what they needed, what you were doing, because you were testing things that I wasn't testing, or you have, again, different approaches than what I have, and you were able to get a different view of what was going on. And I think, I love that. And I know for you and I knew you before I was like you're my naturopathic doctor. So, and, a lot of my education came from you. So it's an easy thing for me to do. I can, here it is. But I really don't find it to be that easy with other people in our community.
Yeah, so that's a really interesting point. You and I already had a relationship, and that trust was already there between us. So to add on to what you were saying, that networking that your niece is doing, and getting to meet people, that's actually building that relationship and that trust that's needed to produce those kinds of relationships. And really, like, we are creating relationships. Yeah, they're professional relationships, but they are relationships. Right. The same as a client is creating a relationship, again, a professional relationship with their team. Us as providers are also creating those relationships in that community. Right. So that's a great point. Yeah, so that's actually a great place for us to kind of segue and jump into this topic that's kind of become a bit of a theme within this series, and that is patient empowerment, which is one of the big goals of collaboration. Create that environment where the patient feels empowered, right, and not feeling like they're getting railroaded, or they definitely feel heard. They definitely, all of those things that they need. So share with us what patient empowerment looks like for you and how you apply it in your practice.
Okay, so for me, 2 key points. One is, and this is our job, as you've said before, is to educate. Mm-hmm. Educate the patient. Make sure the patient has the tools. When they leave your office, they should have some new tools in their pocket every time. Even if it's one simple little bit of information that they can then apply to their lives and apply to what they're doing, so that they can say, oh, every time I feel more like I can do this. I don't need somebody else telling me how I feel, what is real for me, what is not real for me. So I think that's one of the really big things. And the other thing is knowing that they are being heard. They are not being dismissed. And again, this will go into especially women. Mm-hmm. I saw it in nursing. I saw it in my own life. We are very, very brushed off. Yeah. Very brushed off. We're told your labs are normal, your test looks good, must be in your mind. It must be that time of month for you. Oh, do you need a little attention? Like everything. And unfortunately, it's the medical community in general. Mm-hmm. And the doctors don't know what they don't know.
Right. This all comes down to their training as well.
Right.
Yeah.
And so you can't even lay the blame at the doctor's feet, although there are some doctors that say, no, this isn't right. We're going to dig and dig and dig and do whatever it takes to get to that. You look at fibromyalgia, which mostly affects women, right? It was not that many years ago that fibromyalgia was thought to be a mental condition. It was just a hormonal, it's a woman and her hormones. You're imagining it. You're being dramatic.
Right. It's not that bad.
Right. And it's debilitating for some people.
Yeah.
And they were brushed off. And imagine how that feels. I can tell you that one of the biggest things that I have seen consistently throughout my practice is that when women come in and you say, oh yeah, I understand. Yeah, I get, like, you believe me? They are just so in awe that somebody is listening, somebody's believing them, somebody is taking the time to not go, here's something to throw at it, but, talk with me to, validate that what you're going through is real.
Yeah. Not just try to medicate them into submission.
Right. Yeah. Let's be honest. How many times as women is the answer, put you on birth control pills?
Or, let's give you an antidepressant.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so many times. And you're like, well, this is not what's happening.
Right.
This is not what's going on. But so I think just making sure they know they're being heard and they're being seen. And I mean seen. Yeah. And I think that's part of the collaboration too, because if we try to hold them within our little circle and aren't willing to reach out to other people who may have a key that we don't have, we're doing a disservice to that client.
Yeah.
Because we're putting our needs above their needs. So being able to say, I don't think I have the answer for this, but let's get you somebody who does, I just think is so important.
Yeah, and that's kind of been a big theme that we were really trying to drive home for folks is that it is important not only as the client that you put people around you who are going to have this team mindset, but also that as practitioners, you're coming onto that team and your ego gets left at the door. It's not about you. All right, we have to take another short break to hear from our sponsors, but when we come back, we're going to continue talking about empowerment and specifically for women as Kari shares with us about her fledgling women's empowerment project. So refill your cup and meet me back here in the parlor. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Tea Time with Dr. Danni, conversations for navigating holistic medicine and wellness. Stay tuned. We'll be right back after the break. Today's episode is sponsored by the upcoming Collaborative Care Retreat hosted by Dr. Harriet Lemberger-Shore and myself on August 17th from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. at 755 Boardman Canfield Road, Suite C2, bottom floor. The classroom, in collaboration with Dr. Harriet Lemberger-Shore, is proud to present Introduction to Collaborative Medicine. This retreat coincides with the kickoff of our 100-day challenge and will introduce you to the different aspects of collaborative care with breakout sessions on lifestyle medicine and vision setting, naturopathic medicine and nutrition, emotional healing and rebalance, and the transcendence therapy, followed by activities and a cooking demo. A light breakfast will be provided, as well as lunch following the cooking demonstration. The 100-day challenge will kick off that day as well. During the challenge, Dr. Danni and Dr. Shore will coach you through jump-starting the next phase of your wellness journey with 30 days of cleansing, 30 days of building, 30 days of healing, and 10 days of maintenance with one-on-one support and group challenges packed full of tips and tools to support your success. The cost for this retreat is just $65. Registration is now open, but seating is limited. Registration closes on August 12th, so call 330-758-9567 or text COLLAB to 234-308-8289 or go to www.drdanninaturopath.com/collab retreat to reserve your spot today. You can save $50 when you register for the retreat and the challenge by June 28th. Are you noticing hair thinning, experiencing constipation, sensitivity to temperature changes, or rapid or irregular heartbeat? Have you noticed moodiness or unexplained weight gain or loss? Are you looking for a natural approach to healing and not getting answers elsewhere? Dr. Danni can help. As a board-certified naturopathic doctor, her client-centered approach will help you discover the underlying contributors to your symptoms, learn how to better support your body, and provide you with resources to help you speed your healing. Schedule an assessment or ask for the free 10-minute Can You Help Me consult to find out how Dr. Danni can help you. Call 330-758-9567 to schedule today. Do you want to get out of the rut of what feels like a never-ending cycle of poor health and mental and emotional drain? Check out the Metamorphosis book series by Dr. Danielle McDuff, board-certified naturopathic doctor. This 3-part book series will take you through a transformational process to complete healing, helping you understand why you feel stuck in those cycles, help you develop habits and practices that support healing and growth, and to discover and maintain the tools needed to continually live in this new best version of you. The series walks you through discovery and healing on a mind, body, spirit level, guides you into growth and abundance, and finally helps you discover purpose and rebuild resilience. Book 1, Whole Again, dives into whole healing by focusing on discovery and discussing tools for achieving that healing. Whole Again is currently available at www.drdanninaturopath.com/shop.
You're listening to Tea Time with Dr. Danni. This show was previously recorded. You can reach the show at teatimewithdradanni@gmail.com. That's teatime with DRDANNI @gmail.com, or find the link in the show notes. Now back to tea time. Here's Dr. Danni.
Welcome back, my tea timers. I have topped off my cup of brew. I hope you have too. Before the break, we were talking about interdisciplinary collaboration and how we as practitioners can do a better job of collaborating, and also about patient empowerment. Okay, so when we first started planning this episode, there was a specific topic that there was something specific that you had said to me that just stuck with me for like years. Like this was a couple of years ago that you said this to me, and you said that it was about what goes through many women's brains when they walk into a space with other women, especially women they don't know well. Tell us about what that revelation was for you.
So I was thinking, because I know for myself, it's true. I would get a lot of anxiety if I knew I was going into a place where I wasn't with somebody I knew, where the people there were not people that already knew me and that I was friends with. And the first thought for most women is when you walk into a room like that, you are feeling judged. And I think what happens is we have so much been trained to view other women as our competition or our enemies. And a lot of that, our insecurities cause us to be judgmental, cause us to view other women harshly.
So I want to just kind of get into what's the impact of that? What does that mean for us as women?
So I'm going to say, let's look back 300 years ago. Women didn't work outside the home like they do now. Men were the hunters, traditionally, and not even 300 years ago, throughout history. Men were out hunting. They were hunting for the food. They were looking for new lands. They were laying out stuff. The women were left home as a group. Now, I know a lot of times we hear the women were left home with some men to protect them, but generally, they were left home with the boys who were too young and the men who were too old to go out. The women formed their own group. They were unity, and the unification of those women is what protected them. And throughout everything that they did, look at in Scotland, when you were making the wool, the women would come together and it would be a community event that they were making the wool, and they were singing and they were sharing stories. Quilting, women would do that. If they were making bread, it was very much a community activity within the women's group, and again, the small children, and but they were caring for each other. As a midwife, how important it is for a woman who's just had a baby to have that support. And traditionally, it would have been the aunts, the sisters, the grandmothers, the moms, the women of the community coming into that house and surrounding that mother with love and care and taking care of the baby, but taking care of the mother as well.
Yeah.
And we have so fallen away from that, and it's become something that, again, like we are just, you look at any magazine, women are put in competition with other women. We are across the board, women very, very subliminally, a lot of times, just given this message that you're not enough. You always have to strive to be more. Whether that's and I won't say all religions, but in a lot of religions as well, women should sit down and be quiet. Women should not hold a place of power. Men are above women. And I think a lot of that is misconstrued.
Yeah.
But we're constantly being fed that so much that we don't even notice it.
Yeah.
And our inner voice is just constantly a critic. As women, collectively, as a group, we have so much power if we could come together and support each other.
I do think that there's something to the need for community and us taking the time to encourage each other and lift each other up.
Yes.
Rather than tearing each other down, and what that has an impact on societally.
Right.
Within our social constructs. So community really is what you're driving at creating here. So you had this idea of actually creating a group of women who came together and just fostered those relationships and the practices of lifting each other up and encouraging each other and empowering each other. So talk to us a little bit about this idea and why it's so important to you.
So my thought was, because usually when we meet in groups, we're meeting with friends or people we already know. So my thought was open it up to a group of strangers to come in, people who feel like they don't have a close friend or a close relative, you know, female relative that they can reach out to, whether that be because the issues are just not something they're comfortable with, or just because they are not, they're in a situation where they're not, they just don't have that. To come together in all ages, you know, from, you know, an 18-year-old to a 90-year-old, just come together and just be there to listen and support and get to know and unconditionally love another, and you know, listen to each other's opinions, not in an argument, but just to better understand each other and meet the needs, because we're so emotionally based women. You know, we're face to face. We want the communication. We want the acceptance. We want to talk about feelings. And you know, right now in society, if we want to talk about feelings, we're too much. Right. You know, we're too emotional. But to know that feelings aren't bad, and once we know that, when we're secure in that, when we know that feelings aren't bad, when we know that we can truly be ourselves and we're loved and supported regardless, you know, that affects everything around us. That affects the way we relate to the other people in our households, in our families, in the workforces. That enables us to be more truly ourselves in a secure way, that we're not have to worry about whether somebody's going to judge us for this or whatever, because you just know you have such that firm foundation in who you are, that you're confident to go out there and just be you, and it attracts people to you, but people can learn from you.
So talk to us a little bit about, like, where did this project go? Where is it at right now?
It's still on the drawing board right now. It is. Okay. Mainly because what I'm trying to do is find a way to do this, to start out small, to not be huge. So some of my thoughts were maybe meet in a local restaurant, because obviously as women, you know, in general as a society, we bond over food.
We do, yeah.
We do.
It's such a social thing for us.
Yeah, and I think that is wonderful. But meet in a local restaurant, and then, you know, whoever shows up, or whatever. But for women who are already intimidated, that could be extra intimidating. And for me, what I find is I have a lot of friends and family who are interested in doing it. But if I show up there and all my friends and family shows up and a stranger walks in, the environment is not going to be as conducive for that person to feel as involved. So I'm still trying to let that epiphany come to me as how to do this so that every person walking in there feels like they're on equal footing with the next person. So it's not a group of people who already know each other, who then you have one or two strangers coming in feeling like, wow, I'm an outcast, I'm an outsider. Regardless of how welcoming those women will be, you still have that, they have history together. They know each other, and I don't know anyone.
I want to just talk about, like, what that disconnection looks like. We've touched on it a little bit, you know, with, you know, the different self-talk and things like that. But what are some other things that we see, particularly for women, that are directly connected to this disconnection from a female community?
So, much like we were talking about with the midwifery and stuff, as we're growing, I love, like, I don't know, you've probably never watched The Chosen, but it starts out with Mary Magdalene as a very small girl. And she's sitting with her father. Her mother has passed away, and she's sitting with her father, and he's reciting scriptures over her as a blessing. And I just think, like, to me, that was so touching and so beautiful, because I think if we, as women, again, going back, we are the mothers, we are the sisters, we are the nurturers, we are the people who teach the safety of emotions, really, and how to express them. So if we're in a good place, if we've understood that, if we know we're cherished, loved, secured, valued, then we're able to go out and do that stuff. But if we're not, if we are living in a situation of fear and anxiety and insecurity, that's what we're teaching, and that's what we are giving to those around us. We can't give unconditional love to someone else if we don't have unconditional love for ourselves. That can turn into not only, I mean, it affects everyone around us, it affects us, but also the disconnect of having depression, of feeling lost, of feeling like they don't have an identity, of feeling like they're always going to be lacking, always going to be seeking out something. And unfortunately, a lot of times we're seeking that out into abusive situations. As women, when we don't have that community, when we don't have that support, when we feel so cut off and alone, a lot of times we're afraid even to reach out for help.
We've covered so much in this part of the show. Let's just kind of sum it up a little bit, like what we've covered, and kind of give some bullet points for our listeners on what we can do to reclaim feminine connection, right, as women, and then how do we do that in a way that creates a supportive and empowering community? I'll let you go first, and then I'll chime in with my thoughts.
All right, no pressure. I think the first thing we need to do is find at least one person. At least one person, I don't care who it is, that is somebody that you can count on, that you can trust, that is going to encourage you, not use your circumstances to make themselves feel better.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of people out there who really do intend to do good, but what they're doing is that's feeding their needs and feeding their ego. So find a person. It could be, a lot of times a person in a support group, maybe, that you're already going to, or don't be afraid to test the water a little bit and reach out, but set your boundaries for yourself. Make sure that person is going to respect your boundaries, and respect you, and don't be afraid to reach out. Don't feel like you're worthless. But also, we each have to watch how we're judging other people. Because honestly, that's a reflection of ourselves.
Yeah.
And we know that. Well, our thoughts, when we are putting out negative thoughts about somebody else, that's always deep down some thought that we usually have about ourselves, or a reflection of what we feel about ourselves. So take a little time and look into that. The next time you feel like judging the girl walking into the mall because you don't like her boots with her coat that she has on, stop and think for a minute and think, why am I doing this? What does this serve? What does it serve in me to cut this person down? And what do I need to deal with on my own that's calling out for attention by doing this? Yeah. So I would say those are some of the key points that I would start with.
I think the one thing that I would add to what you said is that we need to become very self-aware and remind ourselves that we are always our own worst critics. Like the stuff that we say, like the crap that we say to ourselves, the self-talk, the internal monologues that are going on are always 1,000 times harsher than what anyone else is thinking about us.
Yes.
With a few exceptions. And that we need to take that understanding that we are our worst critics and use that to help ourselves heal.
Yes. And also, on that same note, like we were talking about it being a reflection, also understand that other people's opinions of us, they're not their opinions of us. They're their opinions of themselves that they're deflecting onto us.
That's a great point. There's a saying within a lot of like the 12-step programs, other people's opinions of me are none of my business.
I like that.
Yeah. And I think that is incredibly empowering when you can take that to heart and really bring it into your own being and say, okay, what that person thinks of me is really irrelevant, right? There are very few people whose opinions of you are important in the grand scheme of your life.
Right.
So,
and none more than important than your own.
Very much so. So that brings us to the uncomfortable truth segment of our show, the part of the show where we share truths that might be hard to hear, might even make you feel a little uncomfortable, but hopefully encourage your creative problem-solving juices to get flowing and empower you as you continue on your personal wellness journey. We are our own worst critics. The vast majority of judgment and pressure comes from inside of us. While there are outside influences from social media and product marketing, we are the ones who judge ourselves the harshest and are the most disparaging when we compare ourselves to others or to perceived expectations. Try to continue to remind yourself that you are not in competition with anyone else. Your only job is to do the best that you know how to do, and when you learn to do something better, apply it and keep moving forward. If you have been a positive influence on a single person, that is enough. I have to take one final break, but when we come back, Kari is going to share with us the unique aspects of her practice and what to expect when working with an HHP. So stick around. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Tea Time with Dr. Danni, conversations for navigating holistic medicine and wellness. Stay tuned. We'll be right back after the break. Do you want to get out of the rut of what feels like a never-ending cycle of poor health and mental and emotional drain? Check out the Metamorphosis book series by Dr. Danielle McDuff, board-certified naturopathic doctor. This 3-part book series will take you through a transformational process to complete healing, helping you understand why you feel stuck in those cycles, help you develop habits and practices that support healing and growth, and to discover and maintain the tools needed to continually live in this new best version of you. The series walks you through discovery and healing on a mind, body, spirit level, guides you into growth and abundance, and finally helps you discover purpose and rebuild resilience. Book 1, Whole Again, dives into whole healing by focusing on discovery and discussing tools for achieving that healing. Whole Again is currently available at www.drdanninaturopath.com/shop. Are you a woman between the ages of 28 and 45 and have trouble concentrating, experience excessive fatigue, brain fog, have difficulty connecting with the people in your life, or just feel overwhelmed all the time? Dr. Danni can help. As a board-certified naturopathic doctor, her client-centered approach will help you discover the underlying contributors to your symptoms, learn how to better support your body, and provide you with the resources to help speed your healing. Schedule an assessment or ask for the free 10-minute Can You Help Me consult to find out how Dr. Danni can help you. Call 330-758-9567 to schedule today.
You're listening to Tea Time with Dr. Danni. This show was previously recorded. You can reach the show at teatimewithdradanni@gmail.com. That's teatimewithdradanni@gmail.com, or find the link in the show notes. Now back to Tea Time. Here's Dr. Danni. Welcome back, Tea Timers. Before the break, certified holistic health practitioner Kari Pyatt and I were discussing her women's empowerment idea and how important it is for us as humans, but especially as female humans, to have a community and connection. All right, so we have had such a great conversation. That last segment was packed full of info, but I want to share with folks about your practice, and specifically, can you share with us what someone coming into your practice for the first time can expect, from that first appointment and then from follow-up appointments?
Sure. So for first-time appointments, usually it takes anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour and a half. It's very client-led. I do have you fill out some basic paperwork, but that is more just for a baseline for you and for I to look back on later to see what's improved, what's changed, what's different. It just always helps, as we talked before, about people being able to see things on paper.
Yeah.
So we utilize that, a lot of talking. And again, it's not specific. I might ask a few leading questions, but I allow the client to talk, because that's when things that a lot of times they don't even know is related to what's going on comes out. But if I ask very specific questions, a lot of times it kind of leads the conversation to a certain direction. So I just allow them to talk about, things they love, what's bothering them, what's their life like. And a lot of times we see some patterns or some issues that arise from that help us to get a deeper idea of what's going on. With that, we do some muscle testing, and with each client, it's a little bit different, just depending on what's going on. Sometimes we'll test with herbs. Sometimes we test, again, like the different organs of what's a weakness. Sometimes we do some emotion testing, just depending on what that client is presenting with, that the body seems to be saying, hey, I need this addressed first before anything else. Usually, I do have some supplements that I do carry in store. I very rarely recommend them directly, but some clients do prefer that rather than, I mean, I don't know a lot of people who don't want to take tinctures, don't want to take teas, they are very used to, again, going to the doctor and getting something handed. So they prefer that. And I do that, but there is a broad range of different ones. I don't focus on the supplement, and I don't focus my practice on the supplements. But usually what happens is I give some recommendations of maybe adding some different things into their diet or into their daily life. That might be breathing practices. That might be just giving yourself some self-love. I know one of my clients last week, one of my sole recommendation to her was, I want you to take 2 hours a week to yourself. It can't be in service of anybody else. It has to be specifically for you, whatever that is. And I said, I want you to do that once a week for the next 6 weeks. And she was so excited. And she was like, oh my gosh, this is my assignment. This is so exciting. You know, she had several small children at home. She had a job, and it's just finding what do they need to get them started. Because as you and I both know, once you correct one thing, a lot of times other things correct themselves. And for some people, it's just calling attention to something that they know is there, but they don't know how to address it or how to, approach it. So that's usually, and there are other times that they are recommended right off the bat to, okay, I'm going to work with you, but first you need to go do this because your body is screaming that it needs this first. So let you go do that, come back to me after, and then we'll go from there. So everything is completely patient-led on what that individual needs, client-led.
Okay. So can you share with the listeners what some of the services are that you offer at your practice?
Yeah, so I have an infrared sauna, which does have chromotherapy, so has been amazing through the winter for a lot of people that suffer with seasonal depression. They'll come in. They don't have to be clients of mine to use that. That is a separate service that they can do, just come in and use the sauna or the chromotherapy. I have an ionic foot bath that we do, which is just a very gentle detox on the body. You don't have to worry about any type of reaction from that. It's just very gentle. And one of my favorite tools actually that I have is an ozone insufflation machine, which I have been able to utilize for many different things and have seen some big results with that. But those are some of my favorites that I have that I utilize. And again, with the ozone, I do try to make sure it's my client because you have to monitor so closely and carefully. But with the foot bath and the sauna, you don't have to be a client. And I have a massage therapist that's in with me too, and she's fabulous. So I like to try to make sure they're getting that type of self-care as well.
Perfect. We are unfortunately almost out of time. So if you could leave our listeners with one thought to inspire, educate, or empower them, what would that be?
Within you, deep down, somewhere in you knows that you are worthy and powerful and amazing. So reach into that and hold on to that. And don't let anybody shake you from that foundation. There, that you know that instinctively. Trust that intuition. When somebody says something and you like say, oh, that's not true. It's not true. So just cling to that and know that that's not a true statement. I know me. You know you better than anyone in the world, better than any doctor, better than your siblings, better than the next door neighbor, better than anyone. And you know deep down that you're a worthy human being, that you are worthy of love and compassion and acceptance, and give yourself that. Even if you think nobody else is going to give that to you, give it to yourself. And don't feel selfish about it. Don't feel self-centered. Don't believe those lies that someone says about you. Just know that you are a worthy and worthwhile and lovable person.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. So how do our listeners get in touch with you?
Well, you can reach me at 330-892-0885 by phone or by email at Kiel Wellness, that's CIALL wellness.com @gmail.com. Sorry about that. And I do have a website as well, which is www.kielwellness.com.
Excellent. Thank you so much for being here, Kari. It has been such a pleasure and amazing conversation. so much insight. I'm really grateful that you took the time to come out and hang out with us in the parlor today.
It's been a lot of fun. I'm glad you invited me. Thank you.
Thank you. And as ever, we will have Kari's contact info in the show notes. We have once again made it to the moment of clarity part of the show where I share thoughts designed to inspire you to think critically and empower you to take action. We grow, thrive, and inspire others best when we are tapped into a community that encourages us, inspires us, and creates the drive in us to want to do our best and leave this place better than we found it. Take stock of who's in your community. Who do you spend the most time with? Not just in person, but on social media and other media as well. What are you consuming there? Do those people support, inspire, and encourage you to keep growing, climbing, and whenever possible, pay it forward without needing to compare yourself? If not, it's time to reevaluate who you want to give the lion's share of your time and energy to and start seeking out people and resources that will fill that role for you.
Today's episode is sponsored by the upcoming Collaborative Care Retreat hosted by Dr. Harriet Lemberger-Shore and myself on August 17th from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. at 755 Boardman, Canfield Road, Suite C2, bottom floor. The classroom, in collaboration with Dr. Harriet Lemberger-Shore, is proud to present Introduction to Collaborative Medicine. This retreat coincides with the kickoff of our 100-day challenge and will introduce you to the different aspects of collaborative care with breakout sessions on lifestyle medicine and vision setting, naturopathic medicine and nutrition, emotional healing and rebalance, and the transcendence therapy, followed by activities and a cooking demo. A light breakfast will be provided, as well as lunch following the cooking demonstration. The 100-day challenge will kick off that day as well. During the challenge, Dr. Danni and Dr. Shore will coach you through jump-starting the next phase of your wellness journey with 30 days of cleansing, 30 days of building, 30 days of healing, and 10 days of maintenance with one-on-one support and group challenges packed full of tips and tools to support your success. The cost for this retreat is just $65. Registration is now open, but seating is limited. Registration closes on August 12th, so call 330-758-9567 or text COLLAB to 234-308-8289 or go to www.drdanninaturopath.com/collab retreat to reserve your spot today. You can save $50 when you register for the retreat and the challenge by June 28th.
That's it for today's show. Please join us back here in 2 weeks for our next episode where we'll be talking about why naturopathy doesn't work. And make sure you check in next week for that bonus episode with the extended version of the conversation that Kari and I had about her passion project and empowering women. We will meet you back here in the parlor with your favorite cup of brew.
You can get more information on me, Dr. Danielle McDuff, at www.drdanninaturopath.com, including upcoming workshops and speaking dates on the Education tab. You can also purchase swag and books at the website at www.drdanninaturopath.com/shop. Go to www.musslerchiropractic.com to book an appointment with me or any of our providers, or call 330-758-9567. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram under the handle at Phoenix Dr. Danni. That's PHOENIX DRDANNI. And join the Tea Time Facebook group at Tea Time with Dr. Danni on Facebook, or check the show notes for all the links and contact information. That's my time for today. Until next time, my lovelies, remember, be kind to each other and be kind to yourselves. Thanks for joining me on Tea Time with Dr. Danni, conversations for navigating holistic medicine and wellness. This show drops every other Thursday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Join us in the parlor for another episode of Tea Time with Dr. Danni in 2 weeks. And don't forget to like, share, follow, and subscribe to be the first to know when a new episode is available. The information and views expressed in this show are from a naturopathic viewpoint, and the content is educational information regarding the topic discussed. The underlying cause of any condition for any person may have some overlap with the information provided in this show, but will always be more nuanced than any bit of general information and require you to dig deeper with your team to discover the full cause for you as an individual. The information in this show is not intended to diagnose or treat any ailments.